Hi you guys, I'm Dr. Meller with Healing Lux, and I have a couple energy medicine analogies for you to consider if you're bringing in energy medicine into your life and trying to help switch some things that maybe you no longer wish to deal with. So one of the things to think about with why do we start, maybe a program worked for one person, but on another, it didn't really work for you, or I've been using mantras, or I've been doing EFT, or I've been thinking about all of these different things, meditation or this, but I'm still not seeing the shifts that I want to see. What do I do? Three things to think about. The first thing is that switching your body is a lot like baking a cake. And shifting your energies and talking with your energies is like a science, like baking. So cooking has chemistry to it. You don't want to use bad baking soda. You want to make sure you have the right amount of ingredients so that the consistency of the cake batter is exactly what you want so that you can bake it. You also want to bake it at the right temperature. So many things to consider. And although cake generally has very similar base ingredients, right? You've got some flour and some sugar and some baking soda, maybe egg, and then you start kind of piling on some things to make it unique. Every cake is unique. So a carrot cake is very different from a red velvet cake, or my personal favorite, German chocolate. So we're all kind of like our own little perfect cake. And what happens is maybe somebody went to a practitioner or some amazing person. You have to go see my amazing person. And you went and saw their amazing person, and their amazing person was not amazing for you. Why? Because your energies, your cake ingredients weren't fully recognized or didn't want to be recognized by that individual. So they didn't really align your ingredients, or help you align your ingredients is more accurate. And so what was happening was your body was essentially, they were trying to help your energies bake the cake and then add the flour after. I don't turn down much cake, but I don't want that cake. So what you want to do is you want to work with your body's ingredients in a way that makes sense, kind of like a science. So we have, in allopathic medicine and Western medicine, one of our body's puzzle pieces is the physical body. So they very much work on your anatomy, your physiology, and how all of these things intertwine together. And then in the therapy world, if you will, they're looking at, how you think, your cognition, as well as your emotions and your personalities. So that's that psychosocial kind of thing. And generally in any psychology textbook, they're going to call this the BPS, bio, those physical systems, psycho, the cognitive and learning piece, social, the personality and emotions piece. And they're going to call that a holistic model of health. But what they've failed to address are the energy piece. And that energy piece is all these other systems that really align those ingredients. So when you can align the ingredients within the energy side, the other puzzle pieces tend to fall into place. But all of us are just a little bit different within our energy systems and what we want and how we want them to be worked with. So another analogy for energy involves breathing. So breathing is a two-step process. We inhale, and then we have to exhale. Most of us don't energetically exhale. So what is an energetic exhale? So just as we bring good fresh energy in and it feeds all of these systems, our physical systems as well as our energy systems, then we have to filter out and let go with the other. So our physical body does this naturally for us in a lot of different ways, right? You shouldn't need like detox and all of those things. Your kidneys are designed to filter and detox. So is your liver. So your bladder filters out what you no longer need. Large intestine and colon for the other solids that you no longer need. So our body is just one giant filter. We bring stuff in, we take in and process what we need from that stuff, and then we're supposed to get out what we no longer want. Well, we live in a society that gives us unconscious messages every day to keep it together, right? I'm fine. Everything's great. I'm great. How are you? Fine. Because we have social norms where we don't just tell the cashier at the grocery store like all of our problems. Well, some of us do, but anyway, the point is that generally we don't do that. And so what happens is this conscious part of our brain, we say all these things, and our energy patterns are like, oh, okay, don't acknowledge that or release that. Okay, well, you're the boss, so we stick it somewhere energetically. After a while, all of that backed up stuff can manifest physically within the body. So it can manifest as a physical, a cognitive, or an emotional issue. And so working with the body's energy systems can provide space to allow you to teach your body how to continuously exhale, even in the presence of information that generally trained you to stop up and hold it in. So energy medicine helps you learn about the ingredients of your cake, learn how to energetically exhale, and finally, the key to the switch is a 3-step process that I call recognize, release, replace. So we have to recognize whatever emotion or thing that we're feeling. A lot of us, right? We go with that, I'm fine, or just be positive. Oh, don't think like that. You'll be fine. And so we just want to tell ourselves like, oh, I'm fine. I'm super good. It's great. No, I don't have to think that way. I'm going to be fine. So we like to do that and just be positive, and that feels warm and fuzzy for a little bit, and it seems to work. But then until it doesn't work anymore. And why does it not work anymore? Because just being positive means that you're not fully recognizing why you felt the need to just be positive. You're glossing over it. You're not doing the work. There's zero recognition. So if you are feeling funky, it's really important to remember that it doesn't matter that you're feeling funky. You can feel funky and then recognize why. Just don't unpack your bags and live there, right? That's the key. So you can recognize why it is that you feel funky, and then you can release that. Okay, so let's say there's 5 major emotions that we lock in. And that emotion is something to recognize within how and why we feel the way we do about a particular situation. So then we release what we recognized and replace it with the, quote, balanced emotion for what we were receiving. So the 5 major ones are that we want to balance fear, anger, anxiety, worry, and grief. Fear in the water element. And when you're feeling fear, it can be paralyzing, right? Fight, flight, freeze. It can be very much related to your nervous system and that automatic functioning. And the bladder is very related to the nervous system because of this, which is housed in the water meridian. And so when you're working with fear, tipping the scale, when you recognize, why am I afraid, right? Well, that's a body survival mechanism. Yay, you're alive. Oh, good. So I care. I want something good to happen about this. So there's something that needs to be done, and you're fearing what needs to be done. So you're recognizing that. When you can finally release the fear surrounding that, the best thing to do then is you've paved the way to replace it with a more balanced emotion. So fear becomes courage. The second one is anger. Anger is a big one. A lot of people ride on anger, right? And so anger is actually just grief's bodyguard. So when you start peeling your onion back and you can get rid of your anger, then you can start doing the grief work, which is what we'll end with. But in general, a lot of anger can either be outwardly directed or inwardly directed. And unfortunately, when we don't energetically exhale that anger and it's outwardly directed, might need a gallbladder removal sometime in your life, or generally have some liver functioning issues. It may be related to alcohol, but why is the alcohol? Well, to drown the inner anger. So lots of layers, things are added on. But tipping the scale from anger, right? In general, anger or wood energy is really just, it gets really angry about lack of accountability and injustice. And so rather than just being angry about that, it's okay to be assertive. It's okay to plant seeds of, well, let's do this, because it's okay to be strong and it's okay to grow, and it's okay to plant the seeds and roots that you want to grow that will support you in your ability to have acceptable boundaries. So this isn't about being a doormat, and this isn't about just being nice. But you don't need to tip the scale to anger and aggression. It's better to peel it back, and you can be accountable and hold people accountable in a balanced way. Moving on to fire, the third, right? Anxiety, panic. So when that happens, you're really in the land of fight, flight, or freeze. And a lot is happening in the brain area and then being received throughout the body from an energetic and a physiological standpoint. So when you're in a panic, you know, that anxiety, right? There's some anticipation happening and an excitement that's basically tipped to the level of excitement that you don't want to feel. So what is it about that situation that's tipped it there? Releasing that and flipping it back to our understanding of joy. Because we can be just as excited about something and find the joy in that excitement rather than let it bring any debilitating anxiety. Moving along to the fourth one, is out of balance. Earth energy becomes out of balance when you have this debilitating worry. So earth energy is all about taking care, right? So an earth energy will have everything you need in their bag. So if you need a tissue, if you need some form of product or hand sanitizer, whatever, they have the Mary Poppins endless bag of things for you. That's very earth energy. They want to take care of everything. In that caring, sometimes that scale can tip to the point of debilitating worry. So when it gets to debilitating worry, there are other things that need to be released. So rather than brushing it off, oh God, oh no, I'm not worried about that. It's going to be fine, right? Oh, I am really worried about this. I'm going to recognize that. And I'm going to remember that being worried is just a really cool sign that I care. And that's not a bad thing. And so I'm going to release that worry and remind myself that it is okay to care, but I don't need to care to the extent where I take on more than I need to as it pertains to this situation. And finally, we end with grief. Grief is housed in the metal element. Grief is very difficult for many people, and because it's so difficult, again, it often gets expressed as anger instead. Anger is grief's bodyguard. So what happens is grief is when, whatever form of loss, this can be an infinite number of things. It can be actual loss of life and loved ones, loss of job, loss of, some form of loss in general happens in relation to grief. And so we pack in that level of grief. And in order to tip the scale, the balanced emotion for metal is more about like awe and reverence. And in that awe and reverence moment, what you're looking for is kind of like the analogy is that of an alchemist, where you can take coal basically and turn it to gold, something beneficial and amazing. And so that is the energy of metal, where you're able to take something very grief-stricken within you, and you're able to adapt that, release it, and shift it, and turn it into gold. Turn it into what is the miracle that happened within that tragedy, if you will. And that is the balanced metal. So what energy medicine is able to do in these three ways, where when you learn how to talk to the ingredients of your cake, when you learn how to energetically exhale, and then when you learn about the balancing and emotions involved in one of the energy, in one of our energy medicine systems called the 5 elements, you're really able to shift so much in your life in conjunction with all of the beautiful modalities that you may already use. So if you have any other questions or want to know more about uniquely what your energies and your cake ingredients are saying, go ahead and reach out. I am one of many energy medicine practitioners that would love to talk with you about it more. Or you can look up practitioners in your area or that resonate with you. There's any number of inventories online where we are located. So thanks for listening. If you have any questions, Healing Lux.